sound better.
So Moses here with WA Production, and now in a previous video I did a little review on Vital, the synth by Matt Tytel. This is a great free synth that is available for download direct from his website. In the video I compared it quite a bit with Serum because they are two very similar synths. It almost feels like Vital takes a lot of inspiration from Serum. So I thought I'd do a video just breaking down the actual differences between the two and kind of what makes them unique to each other. Now this is slightly horses for courses because depending on your personal preference you might like one thing over another. However, I thought I would just lay it all out so you could see the full difference between the two synths. I will also be throwing in Faceplant at the end and we'll just have a look at how that compares to both of these synths because they are quite different, and to be honest they have different applications for when we want to get into sound design. Now the first thing we notice is that there is a slightly different GUI between the two synths. Vital opens up with a much bigger display compared to Serum, and even though you can zoom Serum in, it doesn't really fit the ratios and it looks a bit grainy and distorted, whereas Vital you can resize it quite nicely. As well as this, Vital is also a much more matted look with lots of soft greys and greens and purples, whereas Serum is a much sharper looking user interface. But as I said, these are things that are a bit more kind of down to personal preference. I quite like the matte finish of Vital, but I also like the sharpness of Serum. Something that is really cool about Vital, and this is something that Serum doesn't have, is that Vital is MPE ready. This means that we can control the pressure and slide as well as a few other things which are being made available through products such as the Roly C board, which allows for a much more expressive style of MIDI playing. And it's really cool to see synths adopting this because we don't normally get that. You know, the closest we got to actually necessarily performing a synth was something like a theremin. The rest of it is kind of confined to the MIDI that we already have available to us. So it'd be cool to see Serum maybe introduce this in a future update. Something else to note in the modulation and control department is that both Vital and Serum have a similar modulation matrix. Now this makes it very easy to quickly see where all our modulation is routed to and be able to make decisions and fine-tune parameters that we've already put in. However, Serum does take the cake here as it does have more controls with an auxiliary modulator source as well as some output controls and other things. However, Vital also has a separate window within the synth just for remapping the modulation curves that we have available. So again, this is kind of what you would take as your own personal preference, and both have their added benefit. One of the big differences between the two synths is the oscillator controls. Now you'll notice that Serum does have 3 oscillators technically with a sub oscillator, but Vital has 3 without a sub one, which means we have more control over what we want that third oscillator to do. As well as this, Vital has 2 modulation controls, one for FM and one for bending and wavetable manipulation, whereas Serum only has 1 and you have to choose between FM or bend. And I think Vital really does take the cake here because it's just nice being able to have FM modulation and also be able to put something like harmonic stretch onto the wavetable. However, Serum does have some extra options such as remap available to it in our oscillator modulation controls, but both of them do also have the ability to edit the wavetables within the oscillators. Now in terms of the sound of both the synths, as long as you're using the same wavetables, you'll notice that there isn't really any difference in the sound output coming from them. Both start at the same kind of volume level, so really when it comes down to sound it just depends what wavetables you're using within the synth itself. The main sound manipulation really comes when we come to the effects. Now Serum has some legendary effects in it, and Vital also takes heed of this, and it has a very similar layout as you can see. If you notice, we actually have one less effect in Vital than we do in Serum, and that is the hyper and dimension that is available to us. Apart from that, all of the effects are pretty much the same. We have a chorus, and now as you'll see, Serum has a standard chorus which kind of just sounds as you would imagine it, is quite soft, quite gentle, quite pleasing to the ears. Whereas Vital kind of has a bit more of a designy chorus. It has a few more options and it creates a bit more of an impact when you actually turn it on. And you can hear the examples between the two choruses now. The other cool thing is that the Vital chorus has the filter option where you can either have it as a low pass or a high pass, albeit with a few more limitations on the frequency ranges that you can go to, but that is also quite a nice touch that isn't available in Serum. Now when we come to the delay, you'll notice that there are a few differences between the two, with Vital just having a few more control options about what we can do. But apart from that, they pretty much sound the same, but like I said, Vital just has extra options more than just ping pong or a tap delay. You'll notice as well that the compressors are very, very similar. However, whilst the Serum compressor is legendary and is also adopted into the OTT format, you'll notice that the Vital multiband compressor actually does have a few more options for control and manipulating the sound, with kind of extra controls for volume and threshold kind of staging. Now this is pretty cool because it enables us a bit more flexibility within the compressor. I always find with the Serum compressor that you are kind of limited, and sometimes you want to do a bit more but you just can't go that extra step. So I think Vital does a really good job here of just expanding on the compressor that we find in Serum. Now distortion is really where Serum takes the cake. Vital's distortion is a little bit disappointing, to be honest. They kind of all sound the same without much change, and you can't get that many aggressive tones out of them. You would need to fall back on external third-party distortion units to really get that crunchy sound that you want. However, Serum has a whole host of distortions and even the options of wave shapers, such as Xfer, which allow you to control the wave shape of the distortion you're using, as well as distortions like diode, which completely rupture your sound. With the EQ, now both of these do have their advantages. Serum, you kind of have the option of switching to having 2 peak or notch filters, whereas in Vital you only have 1. However, Vital does have extra controls available to us because it has an extra band, whereas Serum only has 2 bands, Vital has 3 bands. This can also be very useful when we come to doing some more filter manipulation if we so want it. Now when we're looking at just the filters in the effects rack that we have in Serum and Vital, you'll notice that Serum again does win out in this regard. It just has a lot more options, and you also have extra controls for kind of fatness, drive, and also lots of format controls. This and the fact that Vital's, some of their filters, they do crash Ableton when I'm using it, which isn't super great. However, Vital more than makes up for this in the main filters that you find in the kind of main body of the synth. In the previous video, which you should definitely go and check out, you can get a lot of options with it, and because it has 2 filters, you can kind of use them in tandem with one another to create some pretty crazy sound design, having the oscillators route them in individual ways, which is something you cannot do in Serum. And in the previous Vital video I was saying how much I would love it if Serum had this option and made another filter available. When it comes down to the flanger and the phaser, you'll notice that there's not much difference between the two. However, I do like how in Vital the phaser and the flanger kind of move in a graphic display to show how the phasers and flangers are working, which I think is a really, really cool touch. Now when it comes down to the reverb, you'll notice that Serum's reverb is quite clean and tactile, while Vital's feels a bit more designy and kind of you really get a sense of the scale of space in there. So this again kind of falls down to what you would personally prefer for the sound that you're designing, so which reverb you would use. Now I just thought that I should throw this synth in there because it is worth noting. However, I feel like they don't really compare with Vital and Serum, and that is Kilohertz Phase Plant. Now this has been around for about 2 years now, and it is an epic synth. I mean, you can do anything in this thing. There are oscillators galore, you can have as many things as you want running in the synth, and you also have some really cool things with the lanes which allow for parallel and serial processing. You also have pretty much unlimited modulators to do whatever you need to with the sound. This is a truly epic synth, and I think it's great for just really intricate sound design, whereas the other two kind of lend themselves to quick sound design. I find that I can get a sound quicker in Vital or Serum than I can in Phase Plant, but normally the sounds I generate in Phase Plant are a lot more complicated and in-depth than the sounds that I might make in Serum and Vital. Now that's just a very quick comparison between all these 3 synthesizers. I hope that you've taken something from this video and it can help you better understand which synth might be perfect for you. If you have any comments, please feel free to leave them down below. Make sure to subscribe and hit the little notification bell so that you know when the next video is coming. Until the next one, peace out.